So, Geckopia fam, this is Chris Choi. Welcome to another reptile video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tangerine Leopard Gecko Morph. Since this is one of my favorite morph and I wanted to actually share this with you guys for quite a long time, but I just wasn't prepared and there's a lot of things to learn about the tangerine, so I was just holding this on the side and hoping this I can share this later in the future. But I think today is the day where I think I could give you guys some good, decent informations and solid value. So don't forget, at the end of the video I'll be giving you guys really good informations and my personal information as well, so stay tuned for that. But as always, the first thing that I'm going to be going over is going to be the history, and second will be the genetic traits, and third will be characteristic, and fourth is the combinations and tangerine lines. So basically for the tangerines, the most cool thing about the tangerine line is that the combination part is also good, but there's a lot of tangerine lines that was created from various breeders. So those are the things that I'm going to be going over. And another one, this is something that I added for this video, which is giving you guys my personal experience since I've been working with this for many years. So if you want to learn about that, just stay tuned. But without further ado, let's get started. So starting with the history, tangerine was found somewhere in 1996. It was a long line of selective breeding to get that pattern out of the leopard gecko, and the breeder was the gallnet rodent. Some may know who this breeder is, but this breeder is the one that found the lemon frost. Basically, if you're not familiar with the lemon frost morph, I do have a video that covers everything about lemon frost, so if you want to learn about it, just click link somewhere here. I'll add it here for you guys to just click and get into it directly. But they are one of the breeders who found this lemon frost, so check that out if you want to learn it. But basically, they are the first breeder who found the tangerine line. And thirdly, when the tangerine was going, like, it was going super popular, booming, and a lot of people were just getting into it. And at that time, another UK breeder was also working with the carrot-tail part. For those who may not know what the carrot-tail is, when you look at my example photo there on my slide, you see that orange color on its tail. That's a carrot-tail. I think they just named it as a carrot-tail because it just looks very similar to carrot color, so they're naming it as a carrot-tail. But back in the time when things were just getting started with the super hypo tangerine leopard geckos, a lot of people are just mainly focused on that solid yellow color with that carrot tails, and that will be considered as a good quality gecko back in the time. Next up, for the genetic traits, this will be a polygenetic. In other words, they call it line breed. For those who might not know what this is, it's basically like a long selective breeding that you do to produce the best quality gecko. So it's not like something recessive or dominant or something like that. You just put the best quality geckos together to create the best gecko. So I have a lot of lists for the combination and tangerine lines. So I don't think I'll be able to cover all the tangerine lines in this video because it's just way too many to cover and it will make my video so long. So I'm gonna point out a couple of tangerines that has a really good characteristic, and I'll give you guys some photos of those. But starting with the combinations, I have a Tangelo here, which Tangelo is a morph that has a tramp albino and tangerine together. The very easiest way to tell this is by looking at their patterns. If you see the photos that I provided in this slide, you see that white collar on its back? Yes, that's what it's considered to be Tangelo. And also, yeah, the eye part, the silver color, red vein, pinkish veins are considered to be the albino visual type of things, appearance. But most in the case, the good Tangelo lines tends to have that white color with the yellow body. I've seen some Tangelo that has a brownish pattern instead of white color. This is also great, but it's really hard to tell at that point because it could be a bell albino or some other lines. And also bell albino and rainwater can have the white color, so you always want to know. You always want to do the tracking history, like their history for their parents and all those things to make sure that you're getting the right gecko. But as an example for Tangelo, you will have that white pattern on its back with the yellow color. Next up is a Sunglow. This is one of the photos that I could find on the online, and basically Sunglow is like a super hypo tangerine with the carrot tail. And also there's a tramp albino genetic on this one as well. In order to be considered as to be a Sunglow, it should not have any pattern on its back or on its head. It needs to be solid color It's not like this orange. This is a really good quality one. But normally sun-glowers, they tend to have a yellow color, but everything is going to be the same, silverish color of eye appearance, and really good carrot tail there too. But some sun-glowers has a really short carrot tail, so as long as it has a carrot tail, I think it will still consider as to be a sun-glow, as long as it has carrot tail and no pattern on its body. So those are the most common ones out there for the tangerine combinations. So I think I covered pretty much all the combinations at this time. So now I'm going to be reviewing some of the lines that they have for tangerines, which I'll start it off with the first one. It's the blood tangerines, and the blood tangerines are one of the tangerine lines that was found by JMG. And nowadays it's kind of hard to tell if they are pure tangerine, blood tangerine. So most of the geckos that you see in the market will still have some other tangerine mixed there, or may have albinos mixed there. So it wouldn't be really a pure blood tangerines. The photos that I provide here is actually my geckos, and this was posted on my IG Instagram. So if you follow my page, you probably saw this already, but this is normally how it looks. They look like really cool orange color, and just reminds me of Charmander. So I had to get them, and I started with them the very first when I got my Leopard Gecko. So I have really good experience and a lot of information about this to share, so stay tuned for that until the next video. The next one is a Mandarin tangerine, and this was found by Gecko Genetics lines. Most of the Mandarin tangerine I see in the markets tends to have somewhat MDBE, which also another way they call it as a nor desired black eye. This can be a good genetic and can be a bad genetics. There's a lot of discussion over this, but I do have a Mandarin as well, and the picture that I have right here on my side is also my geckos. One on the left is blood tangerine, on the right is the Mandarin. I just brought these pictures to give you guys the comparison on how it will look when you have a blood and Mandarin tangerine together. The cool about the Mandarin is that they have an orange belly. Not every Mandarin has that, but like if you have a really decent quality leopard geckos like me, then you will see a lot of Mandarin that has an orange belly, or from head to tails, and this is really interesting and fascinating. So I want to share with you guys that, and also if anything looks like Charmander, I had to get it. So one on the left is looking like a Charmander, and one on the right which is another one that's not a Charmander. I wouldn't call it Charmander. It's more like a Charmeleon for those who know or who loves Pokemon. It's like a level up version from Charmander. So I love both of them. My Mandarin has NDBE, and for those who wants to know about NDBE, I'll probably review this later in the future if you guys really interested and want to learn about it. But they basically have a really cool pigments. It becomes a little bit of dark brownish color. Also at the same time they have this black eye, which it's hard to describe, but honestly in my opinions, when I look at those eyes, it just looks like a zombie eye. The example photos out there in the online are just insane. You should check it too if you want to check it out. But yeah, those are the two things that I want to show you since I have both of them. But definitely those are one of the amazing morph out there. And also I have one of the blood tangerine online, so if you guys are interested, you can come visit our website and get them today or anytime soon before they run out, because I'm actually going to be keeping them for a lot of reasons, and which I will discuss with you at the end. And the next up is the red diamond. This is one of the cool morph which I wanted to show you guys a lot, because a lot of people were reaching out to me and asking about the red diamond. So basically red diamond is like a tangerine lines with the trample albino. So basically think it the same as Tangelo. However, the difference between the Tangelo and red diamond is that their patterns are different. When they first started the red diamond projects, which I believe it was Italian breeder, and they started with the electric tangerine and banded tangerine with the WY tangerine together to create this. So you see that white pattern on its back, right? But it's not like a banded, it's more like a stripe patterns. So that's basically a big characteristic for red diamond, and also red diamond has a little bit more of that orange color on its body. So I really love them, but the genetics that has in the red diamond is just going to be the albino, tramp albino, and some tangerines that they came up with for this lines. But basically think it of as like a striped white pattern with the orange color. That's the best way to describe it. Next one, this is one of the morph that not a lot of people know about, which is called Red Devil. And just looking at the picture, you can like assume this gecko's gotta be super amazing because their color is just crazy. No, this is not Photoshop or anything. This is how they actually look, and you'll probably be surprised when you hear the price of these gecko. They're 5 figures. So unless you're like a serious breeder who wants to do some cool things, this is something that you must have. Also, it's not common. It's really rare. It's hard to find, so you will not be able to see it a lot, not in the market. But basically this morph is combined between the tangerine and the bell albino. Overall, from my research, it looks like the bell albino tends to give a really cool color. Intensifier, I guess. It makes your color more brighter and more glowy look, kind of, when I see those example photos. But basically this is one of the orange colors that you can tell, like you can find out there in the leopard gecko market, and I haven't seen anything better than the Red Devil. But when I heard the price, I was just like, oh my god, this is just way above next level from me. But hopefully I can get them soon in the future, and if I do, I'll share with you guys, so stay tuned for that. The next one is the Black Blood. This is basically like a blood tangerines, but when you do a lot of line breeding for tangerine lines, which a lot of people do, you sometimes will find hatchlings that seems more darker than other tangerines, and you just consistently just do selective breeding for that, and at the end, later, maybe a couple years, you will end up coming a gecko that looks just like this in the photo. This is more like a brownish color, and I've seen a couple of photos from a lot of different breeders, and they just look so cool. Maybe I'll get them in the future, but at the moment, I just have enough tangerines that I can work with. So, and also I found one of the tangerines that looks a little bit dark compared to other geckos, and I think if I just keep line breeding that, I may able to come with this type of gecko in the future. But I don't know, who knows. If I see a really good quality gecko, I just get him. If I do see it, I'll probably get him in the future. So those are the informations that I could find for the combinations, and I only review a couple of them from all these lists of tangerine lines because it's just way too many to cover, and it's gonna make my video too long. So I wanted to just give you guys some of the tangerines that I like and that seems a little bit more different compared to other tangerines. So those are pretty much it for tangerine review, and if you get any value out of any of my slides, just take a screenshot and use it for your next tangerine projects. Now, for my last slide, I prepared my personal tips about tangerine lines. Reason why I decided to bring this up for you guys is because I have a lot more experience in tangerine lines morph compared to other leopard gecko morphs. So there's a lot of things that I want to share, and I'm hoping there's a lot of people who are working this, and I'm going to be telling you guys why I would recommend you guys to start tangerines if you guys like the color and the orange color. So number one thing is that when I did research, and especially who are serious about this and who are watching my video until now, you're very serious about doing a projects, or you're just in love with the leopard gecko morph. But leopard geckos, when you compare to the other different morphs like snow, albino, or other lines like WY or banded bulls, there's no single morph that has a more tangerine lines than tangerine. So when you look at all those informations that I provided, there's so many different breeders who create their different tangerine lines, and this basically tells you that there's a lot of people who are involved in this, and this means there's a bigger market compared to other morph in that leopard gecko industry. So if you're working on this, and if you're not working this later in the future, if you're starting today, you probably have a really good opportunity to build your reputations. I would recommend starting right now as soon as possible. Number one reason is because here's my example, the high yellow. When the first tangerine line was found and people were just getting into this tangerine line, this high yellow was one of the best quality that they can produce at that time. And obviously, because people wanted them, everyone was like jumping into it, and they were basically running out of geckos and had to wait for next year and another year and so and so. And after a couple of years, more breeders are working with these lines, and at that point it became saturated. It was everywhere, literally everywhere. And now there's more geckos available than the people who wants to get the geckos. So the price has just went down a lot, and most of the breeders that started early has received all the benefits from doing this project. So that's why I want to give you guys a quick example photos like this and telling you guys, if you're gonna start later in the future, it may be already too late and you're missing out a big opportunity there. But if you are someone who's always starting and doing tangerine lines, there's a couple things that I want to tell you, which if you're doing a tangerines that is just a average to low quality, it's just not a good deal for you. Tangerine itself is still pretty saturated. As you can see, there's a lot of breeders who are working on it, and only people who are getting benefit from is the people who are working on the high quality. So I know the price is going to be a little expensive, and especially like all of my tangerines, they're like 500 to 1,000, and some of them are 1,500. It's not cheap, and I can tell you that for sure. But why I would go for those tangerine lines? Because there's not many people are working with that, and there's not many people who can afford to get into that type of projects. Later at the end, the price will eventually come down. But right now, there's not many people are working on it. And if you actually look into some research, there's a lot of people who wants to get the morph, but there's a lot of people that can't get that morph. Although even if they have money, they just can't, because there's not many geckos out there in the market. So you're still not late if you're starting right now. It's just a matter of the fact, if you're gonna start later and hoping that turns out to be good, you will probably be a lot behind. So I wanted to share this information with you guys, and this is something that a lot of people share with, because obviously if something's working for them, well, they share. So if you're a serious breeder and doing this as a business or other type of things as a hobbyist or whatever it is, and you have your stores or doing things like this with the clients, definitely start with the ones that has a good ones. You probably won't be able to find it a lot. I have one bullet tangerine on my stores, which is really good. It's getting better actually as it gets older. So probably gonna shut that down and pull it out and have it for next projects. So it may not be available when you're watching this, but if you see it available, I highly recommend getting them as soon as possible before it's too late, because I will eventually take them out and use it for my projects. The character is way getting better than what I expected, and character is one of the important key part as well. And when you listen to all this information, you probably wonder how to tell whether if your tangerine is a good quality gecko or not. Number one is the saturations. There's a lot of people think that when they see the picture, they're not orange and they're yellow, and mainly it's because when you take a photo, and if you have a tangerine already, you probably understand this. A lot of cameras, they just can't observe that real saturation color that's coming out from the Tangerine Leopard Gecko. So I highly recommend seeing them in a real life. If you have a breeder who you do not know, but they have a really cool gecko and you want to get gecko from them, I would recommend seeing them in a person-to-person. Because number one, there are other people who do Photoshop and just scheme people. And number two is people who doesn't put the right information about that tangerine. So I would rather meet them face-to-face and ask a lot of information and have it prepared so that you are getting a right geckos. And number two is the carrot tail. When you have a gecko that has a really good carrot tail, I have a lot of photos that I share with you guys on my IG, Instagram. If you have a gecko that has an 80% or 99% or 100%, which I have all of those, they are one of the rare geckos that you can find. It's not easy to produce, so therefore the price will go up eventually, because it's not easy. It's hard to produce, and that's why you can't beat those type of people when you have an average gecko or lower quality gecko. So if you have a gecko that has a carrot tails, you're in a good area. And also the tangerine lineage. If your gecko has like 4, 5, or 6 different tangerine lines mixed together, I don't think that's a really good one. Usually the good geckos that I see in the markets are something that has a pure lineage or 2 or 3. I will only consider 1 or 2 mix unless it has a really good colors. I would accept 3 different Tangerine lines mix. But yeah, if you have a pure, you have a lot more advantage, and there's not many people who has a pure nowadays, so it's hard to find pure Tangerine lines. And 4th is who the breeder is, where you got the gecko from. A lot of reputable breeders, they tend to have a higher price, and usually the gecko, when they're priced high, there's always a reason for that. So you definitely don't want to think that it's overpriced or anything like that. It's just a lot of times and effort that breeders have been putting into to produce that good quality geckos. And you can really trust them if you know who they are. But if you find any breeder who you never heard of and they just have a big high price leopard geckos, then I would see them in a person to person and see the gecko in real rather than through the pictures, because I told you that there's a lot of people who do Photoshop with them. So those are the things that I would check to get the best quality. If you have a gecko that meets all those qualifications, then you're in a good start. But to end this video, I just want to say that I've been seeing a lot of people who are serious about leopard gecko projects, and I want to give you guys a lot of value out of this each video. So this is something that not a lot of people talk about, and I want to share with my Geckopia fam for supporting always. So hope you got this value, and if you have any Tangerine lines that I didn't cover in this video and you want to see in the next video, just write a comment and let me know which morph that you want to see. And also, not just the Tangerine, if you have other morphs that you want to see, write a comments. I read every single of them and put into the checklist. So you'll be seeing me reviewing that morph someday in the future. But don't feel hesitate to ask any questions. I'm here to help, and hoping that we can make this leopard gecko community a lot better than it is now. And I want to see a lot of geckos with the beautiful, amazing colors. So I support all of you guys who are watching my video. So ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.